I want to just point your eyes up here to the screen. And I want you to look at this picture because this picture is commencement from last year. And ultimately, for all of us in this room, our goal is to get our students there. Whether they're actually going to go to commencement, whether they're going to transfer, whether they're getting a certificate of achievement, everybody on this campus is working towards the goal of our students meeting their goals. And that's what Guided Pathways is. So what we're going to talk about today are a few different things. We're going to talk about what is Guided Pathways, because some of us are more familiar with it than others. We're going to talk about what it looks like on our campus. We are going to look at what we've done so far. We're going to look at what we're going to be doing next year. And then we're going to introduce our design teams so they can talk a little bit about the work that they've been doing over this last semester. So I like to start with Guided Pathways at IVC, but more importantly, I want to start with a definition. And first I want to talk about what Guided Pathways is not. It's not just another initiative. It's bigger than that. It's not one thing that we're going to do that's going to magically change everything. It's all the little things that we have to do over a long period of time to get students to their goals more effectively. So it offers us an approach to promoting a student-centered culture, organizing existing initiatives, and ensuring those efforts are actually working for students. So what we need to do then for our students and for our campus as a whole is use this framework to get us there. And it really is these two separate populations that we need to talk about. We need to talk about students first, but then we also need to talk about how our campus is operating as a whole. So let's start with our students. So it's a framework that helps colleges implement programs to help students make better decisions for themselves, to improve rates of completion and whatever completion means for that student in their life, to improve our rates of transfer, to aid students in getting the job they want that actually is going to pay them the wages they want to live a comfortable life, right? Not just any job, but a job that you're going to like and is going to help you live comfortably, because that's our goal. And then we want to achieve equity in the above outcomes. We don't want any single group to have fewer opportunities than any other group does. We want everyone to have those same opportunities. So really with Guided Pathways, we have our 4 pillars, and this is sort of another version of it, where we get our students to understand how they need to get where they're going, to actually get on that path to get there, to stay on that path, and make sure they're learning the skills they need to learn before they leave. For our campus, though, we really have to start thinking of ourselves differently, because right now on our campus, and I think most campuses that are going through some of these changes, we work like this. We work in silos. We're not always sure what we're doing in our department if anybody else knows what we're doing. We don't know what people are doing in other departments. We don't know how what I'm doing in my department might be affecting a department across campus. And we have to stop working that way, because we could be doing a lot of harm and not realize it, right? So we have to change that. And really we need to sort of do this across campus. And I know this is a little bit cheesy, but this is what we need to do. But really what we need to do is this, is we need to figure out how we're going to solve these problems together. We need to lift each other up. So that's what Guided Pathways allows us to do, both for students and our campus as a whole. So in order to do that, we had to develop, and we've spent the last couple of years working really hard to figure out how this needs to work here. So for those of us who aren't as familiar, we have this committee called SPAC, and we are alphabet salad on campus. We have acronyms for everything, so we're just going to let it stand as that. We're going to leave it. Under that is our Oversight work group. And that work group is consisting of our VPs, our faculty coordinators, other faculty, our academic senate president, our director of research, students, classified staff, so that we have everybody represented in that room helping to make decisions. Then we have our faculty coordinators, and this year there's 3 of us, Rupa Mather, Brent, Monty, and I. Next year we're going to be moving to a single coordinator model. And it's going to be me. So if you see me really tired running across campus, this is probably why. From there, we have our Academic Senate Guided Pathways work group, and that's primarily faculty and students. And then we have now all of our design teams, and we have 4 that are operating right now, and as of next semester, we will have 6. So right now we want to spend the rest of our time hearing from those design teams and what they've been up to. Okay, so we've done a lot in the last year, and it's exciting also to think about what we're going to be doing. So we completed almost all, if not 100% now, of our degree roadmaps, which is a huge undertaking. Thank you to our mapping and interest areas design team who got that going. We have our interest areas 1.0 finalized so that we can take that and start running with it and see how we need to reorganize that structure, if at all. We had our fall summit. We have this summit. Thank you very much for being here. We have formed our design teams, and we have 4 design teams that have been operating for the last semester. We had our fall and spring newsletters go out. We participated in lots and lots of professional development, which is something that we will continue to do. And we've increased participation amongst faculty, staff, and students across campus, which is something we also want to continue to do, because these efforts will not work unless we have more hands working on them. So what are we going to do next? We have some lofty goals for next year, or that we are not going to finish next year, but start next year. We are going to be working more on our roadmaps. What do we need to do? Where do we need to put them? How do they need to be changed or updated? We have a great place to start, but now we need them to be put in a place where students can actually use them. So we're working on that. We are going to be working on our interest areas. Are they going to stay this way? Are they going to be renamed? Do we need to move some programs around so that it makes more sense for students to find those programs? We are going to be working with student services to figure out, are we working really efficiently in student services? Do we need to move some people around? Do we need to have somebody in the library sometimes from counseling late at night? Do we need to have our A&R open a little bit later? So we're going to be working to figure out how we need to restructure, if at all, our student services to better serve our students. We're going to be looking at scheduling courses differently. Are there critical courses that students need to take to graduate that aren't available to them when the students need to take them? And if the answer is yes to that, we need to figure out when do we need to offer those courses so that more students can take them and finish without having to wait another semester. Those gatekeeper courses that students take for their majors, how are they doing? How do they need more support in that? Is there a large attrition? Do students change majors after not successfully completing that course instead of trying again? So how do we help them with those classes? How are we going to develop our additional design teams? And we have 2 more now that we want to implement in the fall. Our K through 12 outreach. So what can we do with our partners at our high schools to make it easier for students to understand what they need to do when they get here? And developing completion teams. One of our students on our panel earlier said, it'd be nice if there was a counselor assigned to my specific discipline. That's exactly what we want to do, is make completion teams that will help students within their discipline so they're getting the best advice when they need it, So then we have our current design teams. The first one that we have is our mapping and interest areas, and that's currently headed by Rupa and Brent. And their charge is to develop those degree maps and our interest areas. And they've done, like I said, we have them all done. So they finished that, and then we're going to be handing that off, and we're going to be starting the 2.0 of those maps. We have our data and equity team, who's led by one of our amazing researchers, Josh Dorman. And their charge was to start looking at equity gaps and to start creating data coaches around campus so that we can look at data, understand it, and use it to make really good decisions. We had our student experience team, who is led by Bree and Rick, and their charge is to map the student experience. What do students go through from the time they decide to apply to IVC until the moment they are finished? And how does that look, and how can we make that process a little bit smoother for students? We have our marketing and communications team, who's led by Rupa and Diane, and their charge is to find out how do we better communicate what's going on around campus to everybody in the most effective way. And we've begun that with our newsletters, we're doing that with our videos, with these summits, and so what do we need to do next to even improve it further? So next year, we have some new captains. Daniel Vernaza is going to take over our mapping team, and we need somebody else. So if somebody would like to volunteer, we can put your name there, no problem, on the next presentation. For our data and equity team, our researcher Vin is going to take over, and Sessa, who's in charge of ASG, is going to be helping with that. Our student experience, our captains are staying. We're very excited in how engaged they are and how much work they've already done. And then our marketing communications, Diane will stay, and then I will take over for Rupa as she exits from that role. But then we have 2 more teams that are coming up. We have our completion teams, and we have 2 amazing counselors who have volunteered to help us figure out how to structure those completion teams. And then our K through 12 outreach, and so we're still looking for somebody who wants to help head that up for us. And their job is going to be to work with our partners in our K through 12 system to figure out how do we make that transition more smooth from high school to IVC, or really to any community college, because what we're able to do with this team will benefit students regardless of where they decide to go. So I'm going to go ahead now and call up Brent and Rupa to talk about what they've been doing with mapping and interest areas. So please come on up. Let's give them a round of applause for all their work.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm Rupa Mathur. I'm a professor in the School of Business Sciences. I teach management and computer information classes.
And I'm Brent Monty. I'm co-chair of the mathematics department.
And today we're just going to give you an update on what we've been doing this year and where we see some of the accomplishments for next year going. So Brent's going to start off and talk about interest areas.
So we spent a lot of time on interest areas. I even in my statistics classes had my students get essentially 3x5 cards with all the different majors on them and sort them by groups of what they how they felt they belonged to be grouped together, what made the most sense to them. We brought that along with our current school system to the academic senate. We've decided to go with our interest areas as our current schools, the way they're designed right now. But we're looking at all of the suggestions we got from the students, and we're using that to go back to the faculties in the different schools and say, hey, do you think these schools, maybe we should go together as a single school? Should we take some of the different majors that are currently in one school that the students thought belonged with another grouping? And so we're starting the discussions there. Those will be really things that we're going to look at next year. And by next year, I mean Daniel and whoever takes over with that. And I hear Twan might be the man for the job. Not to throw you under the bus or anything, but it's just word on the street. But anyway, we were very excited to get the 1.0 version of our interest areas completed. Now we can do the things that some of the students were suggesting, maybe getting for the completions teams, maybe getting a counselor or counselors that are strictly or primarily they understand, you know, the majors that are in this area. So there's a lot of good things that I think we can do from there. Rupa and I spent a lot of time along with our interest area mapping team putting together a lot of the roadmaps for the majors. I'll let Rupa expand on that.
So for the roadmaps, we have 103 roadmaps done for all the certificates and degrees here at Irvine Valley College. This is version 1.0, so it's just the beginning. We have a long way to go. But what we did in version 1.0 is look at the major courses that the students would need for that particular degree or certificate. We didn't include the electives right now, so we just focused on the major courses. And what we did was we divided it up against the semesters. So we have 2-year plans for all the major courses for every single certificate and degree that we offer. The next step for next year in those roadmaps will be to include the electives and how to prioritize the electives in terms of semester-wise to make sure that a full-time student can complete those in 2 years. And one thing I wanted to address, we had a wonderful question from a student just a few minutes ago about recommended courses. And so we did go back to the faculty and we did say, hey, are there any courses that you would recommend, even though they may not be required for that certificate or degree? Are there any courses that would really, you think, as your discipline expert, would be really helpful for the students? And we included those as well, and we put recommended in parentheses so the students have the option to add those to their schedule. So look forward to that. In the summer, we're going to be using those roadmaps and putting them into the catalog. So hopefully by fall, you'll see a few of them, not all of the 103, but you will see a few of them in the catalog for fall. Are there any questions for the mapping and interest areas design team? Yes.
For the degrees paths, are they also going to be aligned with like major pathways? So you could have that major pathway that you're going towards, but get a certificate or degree on the way?
Explain the question one more time.
I know that you're like mapping out all the degrees that you could get. So if there's a pathway where somebody doesn't just want to get a degree, but they want to go like a major courseway, but they can get that certificate or degree along the way, is that available? Or
Okay, good. That's a great question. So the question is, if a student is not necessarily going for a degree, but they're just going towards a career path, for example, is there going to be any kind of pathway or roadmap to kind of help them along that path? Or if they find out that there is a certificate or degree that they could get along the way, would we be able to help them there? So I think that's where the counselors come in. So the roadmaps that we're developing are really there to help the counselors and the students, but they're not to replace a counselor at all. So in those kind of situations, we would really ask the student, make sure you meet with a counselor or multiple counselors to really tell them what your goals are and what you want to achieve. One of the reasons that we started with roadmaps and interest areas is to really help that undecided student, like Chris McDonald said. So if you come into IVC and you're an undecided major, you're not really sure what career or job opportunities you are interested in, you are passionate about, we want to help guide you. So the interest areas are going to be divided. Right now we have 10, but we might end up with 8 maybe next year. If you know what your passions are, what your interests are, then we can guide you towards that pathway. And that pathway may or may not include a degree, right? So it will just depend on the students. Great question. Any other questions? All right, great. We're going to go ahead and introduce the next design team. So Josh Dorman, come on up.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Dorman. I'm a research analyst here at IVC, and my particular focus is on equity. So just to share some of the work that we've been working on, we're a recent addition to the team, and our charge has been to further cultivate our culture here of data and the use of data to better inform our decisions. So just to toot our own horn, our school and our research is some of the most cutting edge, most innovative in the state. We are doing things here that are acting as an example for the rest of the state in many respects. So one thing we need to work on, however, is to further or better communicate those findings or those practices internally on campus. There are folks who are unaware of the great work that we're doing and what some of the data is showing us. So what we're trying to do is create what we're calling data coaches, people who are experts in the data, people who are confident in sharing that data with their constituency groups, and more specifically, people who can help better craft strong questions. Because our job as researchers is to ask the really difficult questions and furthermore try to answer those questions. So some of those questions are being brought up by our students and faculty alike, and those oftentimes are not easy questions to answer. But working together, as Rebecca indicated, if we work together to try to answer those questions, we can find better answers, better inform our decisions, and move forward. So far, what we've been working on, we've had different professional development opportunities. We had a Flex Week workshop where we shared some of the different data tools that we have available for our staff on campus to be able to explore what the different trends are showing, again, under the scope of equity, to see who is not perhaps performing as well as other groups, and to see what we can do or what our different practices are showing thus far. So again, that's the other aspect of it, is evaluating whether those practices are effective. Moving forward, we're going to continue to work on creating more professional development opportunities for different staff on campus. This is not just for faculty, this is for classified, of course, as well, so that we can continue to create a more wide culture regarding the use of data. So if you'd like to join the team, we offer whistles, which are great for coaching. Any questions?
So how can I use those dashboards as a faculty member to help increase student completion?
I see. So part of our charge is to help better inform professors as to who potentially is struggling with their coursework. We have to be mindful of the fact that our students are coming to our school with different experiences, different challenges. With that data, we can better prepare for those students, better prepare ourselves to direct them to the appropriate resources that are on campus that can help them be successful in their courses. All right, I'd like to hand it off to our student experience team. I believe it's Brianna and Rick.
Hello, good morning. It's great to see so many faces in here. Is it still morning? It's still morning, right? So Bree and I are working on the student experience design team for Guided Pathways. The idea with this is, as a student involved in Guided Pathways, how do we clearly define where you need to go? How can we help you figure out where to go? What is the student experience like through that? And so as a design team, we first decided to take a look at the existing strategies or existing different processes and systems that are in place at the college, and try to map what that student experience looks like today. And then through that, we've also are hearing about maybe challenges that are in that process, or different ways that maybe we can improve that process. And so to start off with that charge, we have invited faculty and district employees and students to all come in the room and to try to figure out this map and figure out what students today are experiencing from before they're an IVC student, what makes them come to IVC, why do they come here, all the way through to that completion, as somebody else mentioned before, whatever that completion means, if it's getting a job, if it's a certificate, a degree, transfer, whatever that looks like. And so that's what we've been taking baby steps towards over the last year. So we'll give you a quick overview of what we've done over the last 2 semesters and some goals moving forward.
Good morning, everybody. So in the fall, we established our charge and our goals and just kind of settled into what our team was for and what we were going to be doing. We planned some future meetings, and then we started recruiting people from across campus, because to be able to map the student experience, a student is involved in like everything across campus, so we have to make sure we get everyone involved. So our team actually consists of a diverse group of people. We have part-time and full-time students on our team, counselors, part-time and full-time faculty, instructional faculty, classified, deans, directors, like IT directors. Research is on our team, campus police, because students interact with campus police as well. There's district employees, and we're really lucky to have the IT student design team on our team as well. We're still recruiting more members, so anyone is welcome to join. So at the end, we have our email addresses, so feel free to email us if you would like to join. We're still looking for some different departments to get involved too, so you'll be hearing from us probably. So in the fall, we just started to categorize like key stages of the map, like the student's map of prospective student to completer. In terms of like matriculation or outreach, like how do they hear about the college? Maybe like categorize one stage as like midterms, finals, applying to graduate, things like that. So we just kind of broke down the different stages, and that's also a work in progress. So we might be changing what is like a stage and what isn't a stage. And then we just identified some key touch points of the experience, like different specifics like that. So we kind of just got oriented in the fall. And then moving on to spring, Rick will let you know what we did that semester.
So I thought I knew what registration meant, and maybe matriculation, but then there was a new word we learned this semester called studentization. And we're like, huh? What does that mean? And so we're learning a lot through this process and learning about all the different systems that students, you have to work through and understand in just being a student here. To be able to navigate the system. You can see that we have these working meetings, and we put stuff up on the walls, and we write notes, and we ask for people. In spring, we've asked for people in lead roles that are in these different areas, like matriculation, for example. We also discussed financial aid in the spring semester. And so just some quick bullets and kind of talking about that. Financial aid, I don't know how I made it through community college. For you all students as well, it's a challenging. Did you guys know that for the first year, you can have free community college? and I'm not talking about like the BOG waiver, it has a different name now, or financial aid, or right? It's a newer program called Promise, right? But guess what? You have to sign up for it before you ever come here. Wait a second. Like there's some automatic barriers that we're finding in these processes that exist, not just here at the college, but statewide, federal-wide type systems that all have to kind of commingle and work together. So we want to try to streamline this and make it as easy as possible, as easy to identify as possible for students to get through. And so we've had several meetings. Again, the student input has been huge. So students, just as a side note, we do bring food. Snacks, coffee. There's occasionally fresh vegetables and kombucha if you're into that sort of thing. So you can take down our emails towards the end.
So going forward, we realize that this is a big task to map the entire student experience. And also it's important to note that I know Rick said we're mapping the current experience as is to look for pitfalls and strengths and just kind of get our bearings, but we do plan to map student experiences for all different kinds of students. So like a map for a reentry student, a map for a DSPS student, for someone who's going for a certificate, going for transfer, because it looks different for every student. So that is our future goal. But looking towards next year, we're still working on our current student map. So we're gonna have those meetings with like the ones that we've had with admissions and financial aid. We're gonna have similar meetings with outreach, marketing, student services like counseling, career center, transfer, health and wellness center, admissions. Again, if you guys will come back, we need you more. They already met with us a lot. So a financial aid, bursar's office, and matriculation. And then we're going to go on to looking at campus resources like the Student Success Center, all of the writing, math centers, the Language Acquisition Center, ASIVC, Elevate, Campus Police, the Food Pantry. And then we have to focus in on services for special populations like DSPS, veterans, EOPS, guardian scholars, reentry. We have a lot of different programs on campus, so as you guys are probably aware. And just as we talk about each of these, like we're gonna again like focus on like what does the process look like for the student? What are like good things about it that we should keep? And what are some things that can be changed, and how is the best way to like change those things? So student input is really, really important. Like we're talking about your guys' experience. So it would be really great if you guys would come to a meeting here and there. You don't have to commit to coming to all of the meetings. Or even if you just want to email us if like there's something you think of that like, hey, I'd really want that to change, or I really appreciate this part of the process. We'll welcome anything. You're not going to send us an email that we're going to be like, what is this? This doesn't apply. It's going to all apply. And then we're going to start looking at the classroom experience and maybe start developing like a student survey or a focus group. We'll see how far we can get in the next year.
There's our contact info. Any questions? I completely left you hanging with studentization. So when a student applies, ends up getting a student ID number and email address, and then it maybe starts entering into registration or enrollment. Those are actually two different things too. Go figure. That you are studentized. Is that a word? Yes. Okay, awesome. And there's a high percentage of students that get to that point and actually never take classes. Really interesting. Like I think it's more than half, if I remember correctly.
A lot of people like apply to CCC apply and they don't enroll. They might apply to like multiple sometimes students will apply to CCC apply for like multiple colleges and then they don't enroll at IVC. So I know like a lot of different work groups on campus are looking at that gap. Like where do the students go? I know like Diane Oaks and Jim and everyone from IT, like they're all looking at that. There's a lot of really interesting things, like we're all learning together, that even between like the deans, the counselors, the instructional faculty, like we don't understand like what all the terms mean. So how are you guys supposed to understand what all the terms mean? I remember my first semester working here, I think it was Dan DeRoulet. I think he gave me a list of terminology, which was super helpful. And all the different acronyms, everything. Like, I mean, it's just the community college is a whole like world unto itself. So if like we don't all understand the same definitions, like it's very hard for students to understand that as well. So we're just working on communication and getting the word out and figuring out the best way to do that. So feel free to join our team. We would welcome you for sure. And he makes really good kombucha.
Thank you. Next up, we have Diane and Rupa coming back up.
Oh, thank you everyone for coming. I'm hoping that marketing is the reason why you all are here. And our future marketing efforts will get more folks to come to future opportunities for our group. And I want to have a special shout out. The students in pink are our PR representatives on campus? Yes? No? Yes, yes. Yeah, ASG? Okay. So we have a tremendous amount of support in our public relations group from ASG as well. So thank you all for students that are here today as well.
I wanted to go over some of the accomplishments for the marketing and communications design team. One of our goals was to have a website, a public-facing website. And so this is what we have so far. We have wonderful videos that Jeff has helped us with over the course of the year. So we have some student interviews there. We have the student panel from the last summit. We'll have the student panel from this summit up shortly. So a lot of good information. If you don't know what Guided Pathways is, I'm sure all of you do, but tell your colleagues, tell your other students. If you don't know what Guided Pathways is, there's a wonderful video on what Guided Pathways is and how it can help students. We also have put our goals up here. You heard about them today, but we do have our goals for next year and also our accomplishments. So this is one tool that we're using to get the word of Guided Pathways out to everybody, not just students, but faculty and staff and the whole IVC community. In addition to the public website, we also have a private website called an intranet. We call it inside.ivc.edu. And for faculty members and staff members here, we have all the information on Inside under committees, under Guided Pathways. So each of the design teams also have their own folder there. Any of the meeting minute notes, any of the accomplishments, goals, they're all available there as well. The third thing that we've done is the newsletter. So we just got our second volume 2 IVC Guided Pathways newsletter out last week. And the newsletter is really to inform the entire community, the faculty, the staff, anybody that's involved in Guided Pathways about what's going on, what we've been doing, how they can be involved, all the different design teams. So it's really helping to increase the awareness of Guided Pathways here at IVC. So those are our 3 main initiatives that we've been focusing on this year, and next year there'll be so many more. What we want to do is help increase the student engagement. We want students added to all those design teams. We have some right now, and it's wonderful to get their input on the student experience or on the roadmap. So it's really great, but we need more of that. We need more staff involved in Guided Pathways to hear their side of how we can help. You know, like the welcoming, the comment from the student about when they come to campus the first week and they're kind of lost. And I'm like, why are they lost? We should all wear IVC t-shirts the first week. So if any student has any question, they're like, oh, they work here. We can ask them anything, like where's the bathroom? Or especially with this room, right? Or where's room 103? So just some little things that we can do to kind of help would really help and go a long way. Any questions from you guys about the marketing and communications design team? Oh, come on, ask a question. I have all the answers. Gary.
Is there something active that goes out to those 500 freshmen that are going to walk in the door in August that says, here's the things that are available for you now, just besides the regular stuff? I mean, for example, Mark and I are teaching a summer bridge program. And we know the summer bridge had great results. In 2 years, students had 25% more completed units with a 12% higher GPA. So is there something that's going on that says, if you're interested in Guided Pathways, here's a nice little on-ramp for you in the summer to get a good start?
Oh, that's a great idea. That's something that we...
Well, that's why I'm on the student experience team as well as the marketing team, because I think that topic has actually come up from our students. They're very engaged in that same topic of they would like something, the number the amount of information that they receive from the time that they apply to the actual time that they actually set foot on campus. There's a lag in that input, the way I understand it from students, and they are looking for those types of materials. So that actually has been discussed at the student design team as something that we've identified as an opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for that. I also liked what the student said about, like, when you first start here, kind of having a checklist. I don't know if some of you have read the book, The Checklist Manifesto, right? I see some nods there. So I think having a checklist for incoming students and including those type of things, including the resources, including what they can do to be a wonderful student is a great idea. I know that I, as a professor, and I got this from other professors, on the first day of class, I always give tips from my past A students. And I list all the tips, and I don't say these are my tips, I say these are from my past A students in how to succeed in my classes. And students really appreciate that. So the more that we can do that to really engage them early and to get them on the right path would really help in their completion. Any other questions for Diane and I? All right, thank you very much.